most convincing story that maps onto reality, and that's why the central narrative is falling apart.
Right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
We must see the central narrative for the fiction that it is. We are Americans.
While elections are sometimes messy, this was a secure election.
The founders began the fight for human liberty and self-governance, and it's up to us to finish the job.
I tell you what, we are in a truth emergency right now.
This is the end game.
All the people that have gone out there against the mainstream media and said, you're going to call us racist, you're going to call us potential Timothy McVeighs, fuck you. War.
Seductive. Quite sure he's right. An obsessionally neurotic. Pretty dangerous, in fact.
Do you mean you doubt your powers to convince him?
Worse than that. What I'm afraid of is his power to convince me.
Let us never tolerate outrageous conspiracy theories.
Sweetheart, be reasonable.
All right, here we are. It is Wednesday, November 6th, 2024, the 1386th day of dystopia. I'm your moderator, Chris Paul. Let's be reasonable. Hey, everybody, happy day after Election Day. Remember the 5th of November. Yesterday was apparently Liberation Day. We are now liberated. Congratulations and hooray. Do you guys all feel liberated? I feel somewhat liberated. We're all very happy, are we not? Trump got his victory. The TV says Trump won. Now, I have no doubt that Trump won. As I've been saying for a very long time, when elections are real, they show the results of a battle of narratives. And when elections are fake, all that matters is the battle of narratives, because that reflects the truth in the court of public opinion. And Donald Trump won that a long time ago. We needed, I guess, to have a fake election yesterday to confirm that Donald Trump does have that public mandate. And maybe that was necessary. I'm 100% down with it. I get it. Maybe this is the catharsis people needed. All good. Not mad at it. But Donald Trump won that a long time ago. In fact, he won in 2020. And people didn't believe that our election system could possibly be rigged. So they went along with it. Or maybe they just wanted the Trump era to be over. Maybe they wanted to punish MAGA for being just too mean. They wanted everything to go back to normal after a very deadly pandemic and a summer of love. And they just didn't have the fight in them anymore. So, but Donald Trump won by a lot in 2020. And he won by a lot yesterday to the extent that something happened. He won it. He definitely won the thing that happened yesterday. Donald Trump fully has the public mandate behind him. The public knows that now. The public on the other side knows that as well, but they might be able to shift that. Hopefully not. Okay. But again, and I want to, let me just frame the conversation a little bit today. Okay. Politically, there was a goal to accomplish. That goal has now been accomplished. And we will break down some of how that goal was accomplished. But let's step outside of the normal political framework that we have been conditioned into thinking is the most important thing in the world, in this country. over the course of our lifetimes and move into something else, because the president is not a king. The president is not going to stick around forever. The president doesn't dictate to the states what they must do. Certainly not any president operating within the constitutional and moral bounds of his office, as we expect Donald Trump to do. So he's not going to just control everything forever. This is not, now we have won forever. Wonderful moment. The public, the American public, can see MAGA is much, much bigger than they ever imagined it to be, although we're told only a little tiny bit bigger than we were told it was in 2020. And let's actually check. I want to see the exact number of that right now. So we are still hovering at about 139 million in total turnout. Okay. There's still going to be quite a bit more, I believe, coming in from California. California is, hold on, let me just let this map load here. California is at around 9.5 million. So they, I believe in 2020 had 14 million and then had 11 million in the Gavin Newsom recall. So we can expect another 4.5 to 5.5 million votes from California, maybe more, which would push us up to about, 145. There's still plenty of votes to come in from other places around the country. So when all is said and done, maybe it dropped 10 million votes from 2020 in terms of total turnout. I don't think it's going to be quite as dramatic as we thought. And over that time, Kamala will catch up a little bit. It looks like Donald Trump will still maintain a popular vote win. But as of right now, it is 50.9% of the popular vote to Donald Trump, 47.4% to Kamala. And so if we expect that'll get closer, Donald Trump will be around 50. They might work him all the way back to 49.9 just so they can say he doesn't even have a majority of the country, only a plurality. Who knows? Maybe they will get Kamala over the finish line on that metric. I have no reason to believe they're not still working for that. Okay. They're still working for a bunch of things in the Congress and elsewhere. That's the political side of things. Beyond the traditional political side of things, there is still the awakening, and there is still actually closing out this win and this victory and taking care of the massive infiltration in our country. And I'm not saying any of this to get anybody down. It's just that the game's not over. There's still a whole lot of game left to play. And so I want to talk about all that stuff today, but not in a negative approach. Okay. We are moving from one paradigm to another paradigm. That means things that might be good in one paradigm are bad in another paradigm, viewed through that lens. Or maybe they're just neutral over there. Or maybe they are not as complete in one paradigm as they are in the other paradigm. Okay. It's different ways of looking at the world. And so we're going to look at this also through the good twin, evil twin paradigm, rather than Republicans versus Democrats. Because if you understand the uniparty, then ultimately it's not Republicans versus Democrats. So we see Republican wins, might get the House, not sure. We are told we got the Senate and we got Donald Trump, and then we have the Supreme Court. Things are coming up roses. I get it. In the traditional paradigm. In the good twin, evil twin paradigm, the uniparty is the American representative of the global good twin, evil twin. The uniparty is Democrats and Republicans combined, and there are still things that they can do when combined and still be probably pretty good at hiding it from the American public, depending on what their goals are. So we're going to look at things in that way today. As it stands right now, as I said, at least CNN's map, some of these maps are different, man. It really is unbelievable how different media organizations just decide when they are going to call in a given race. Like, it's too early to call these ones. We had a lot of fun with that last night on Badlands Media. And if you guys watched that, I hope you did. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. I know that we had a lot of fun. Man, we had a lot of laughs last night. it is just great to approach what is, a subject that people, I think, take way too seriously in a way that kind of pulls some of the seriousness out of it. Because what we saw last night was the television reporting numbers that were generated in a black box and handed over only to the select few, which are the media organizations who can pay Edison Research to give them access to that data as it's compiled or created. And then we are viewing it through however the filter of the mainstream media translates it to us. Okay. So we're already a few steps removed from the sort of information that we should demand if we are having a government of, by, and for the people. If we are going to go through this ritual of declaring that we give our power to this or that person or this or that cause, then we should be able to know that we actually did vote and that other people voted and that all of that was recorded accurately and that the reported results reflect the will and intent of the voters. And I think we have good reason to believe that's not true. Elections did not become real yesterday through Donald Trump winning and through us having okay results in the House and okay results in the Senate. We were told it would be a close race. We were told it meant absolutely everything and Trump had to win. So we expected a close race. We got the Trump win, and now everybody's just on the Trump win. Okay? And I get it. And I'm not trying to bum you out. But, we can allow the plan to operate and put our faith in the plan despite not knowing what the plan is or who's really deciding about that plan. And we can do that for a little while we take a break and we understand that other people are very much on the case. But how long can we do that for? Can we do it for years? Can we do it for decades? If we do it for years or decades, don't we get right back here? And then what would it mean that we celebrated Donald Trump's win and then went back to sleep? I don't think it would mean very much. I can't imagine. I can speak for myself. I'm not going to speak for anybody else out there. You can tell me in the chat if you agree or not. I don't think all of that for the last 4 years was so that we could get a Republican president with a Republican House and Senate. Now, Donald Trump is exceptional, of course, and that's wonderful. And maybe Donald Trump all by himself could do all of this stuff if patriots stay right on point. And maybe he'll have to. We don't know. We don't know how deep the uniparty infiltration still is. There were a lot of Republicans last night, no doubt, who won in House races or in state legislatures who were just uniparty Republicans selected as the candidate in the primary, knowing that they would win the general election over a Democrat, and still they're just a uniparty member of Congress who's more than happy to help the uniparty when necessary. And a lot of people are like, well, that's going to be about legislation next year or a year after that, somewhere down the line. No, it's now. Okay. They are vying. They are still trying to take the House, and they are going to play as much hardball as they have to. And maybe they'll get it and maybe they won't. I don't know what the future is going to hold, but I do know that they will probably raise some objections to elections where they can. Maybe they won't because they're worried about exposing their system. But that would be step one. Question certifications within states, perhaps. But then in Congress, the Jamie Raskin thing, they want to vote to disqualify Trump under the 14th Amendment, declaring that he has committed insurrection against the government of the United States and attempt to hold him out that way. And maybe they want to just disqualify him. And they'll say, okay, well, Republicans won, but Donald Trump's just not fit to serve. So here we have a perfect substitute that all of MAGA will simply accept in J.D. Vance. And then we'll just put in Nikki Haley to be his backup or someone similar. Okay. Now, are those worst case scenarios? Maybe. I don't think any of that would work. All right. I'm saying that right out front. so that everybody understands. But we are in different paradigms now. We are moving toward the awakening. We are focused on good twin, evil twin, because ultimately we have to defeat this. It's not just like, can we get Trump over the finish line so he can be inaugurated? Because there's more challenges after that and after that and after that. But there wouldn't be if we had legitimate elections. Because if we had legitimate elections, we'd have a lot different results. And Trump wouldn't win in a close race. Everybody can say landslide till the end of days, but in a week or 2 weeks or 4 weeks' time, when California's results are finally tallied and totaled and they're all added in, if Trump has a 1% national popular vote win over Kamala, a woman who's not a real vice president and wasn't a real candidate in a fake election, and then everybody stops caring about our elections, that's not a win. And I understand that it feels good now, but this is the exact scenario that I've been describing for a year as the regime's ideal outcome. Okay. And again, that doesn't mean that everything's not directly on track. There are two things happening parallel to one another right now, which is why the paradigm shift is so important, because it's almost impossible to tell the difference. It's just a matter of like positive, negative, like the valence of something, the direction of it. Okay. Let's take an example. Starlink may provide decentralized internet. Somebody just mentioned Elon in the chat. But if instead it doesn't provide decentralized internet and everybody moves from an old infrastructure to a new infrastructure, and the new infrastructure that we are told is decentralized is actually centralized in some way or has been co-opted or corrupted in some way, then we've just let ourselves further into the beast system, as people occasionally call it. Okay. And I don't want to do that, which means that we have to be watchful the entire time. And even to the extent that these events are scripted and that they are kind of just a show that we are watching and participating in on some level, we still have to learn the moral of the story. Okay. And we have to participate in the story the right way. Otherwise, we just, again, head back down the track. These people are very tricky. So we talk a lot about total inversions within the false reality. Did Trump win a real election in reality prime or in the false reality? Now, you could argue that he won in both, and he certainly did. He has the public mandate in reality prime, which, if you understand reality prime, is the only thing that matters. Because if the military is on Donald Trump's side and they view him as the constitutional authority as president, okay, or we are under some kind of military occupation and Donald Trump is the figurehead, whatever it is, that's all the legitimacy that is required to exercise real power rather than abstract power, which is what we have in the false reality. Now, all our fake elections can do is grant abstract power, which is what they did yesterday. All right. They conferred abstract power to Donald Trump until that abstract power is removed, which they are going to try to attempt to do because they control the abstract power infrastructure and the abstract power hierarchy based on reputation within the party of false decorum, based on ideas about legitimacy, what the rules are, and what they can convince members of the party of false decorum to believe and then activate for. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So let's go through some of these results. I'm going to pull up this CNN map because we have great Trump results in a whole lot of places, as reported to us, under the assumption that only Democrats cheat in the old paradigm. In the good twin, evil twin paradigm, we understand that the uniparty selects candidates. It's not about cheating. It's about this candidate wins here, this candidate wins here. Deals are made, systems are corrupted and exploited. And we are told that, look at that, Ted the Republican won by a lot. How about that? So we have Ted the uniparty Republican instead of Mary the uniparty Democrat. And does it matter at all relative to Trump or relative to the way the global agenda will progress under anyone but Trump? You know, again, that bipartisan border bill That was just 100% unipartisan. And they wanted to pass that. And of course, it got held up because Donald Trump is Donald Trump. But let's look at this. And again, I want to say, I don't bum anybody out. Donald Trump is the rightful president of the United States in every possible way that could matter. He also achieved all of those goals in 2020. And people, the American people, failed to recognize that and stand up for it. Now the TV has told them that actually Donald Trump won. So they are willing to recognize that and stand up for it until the point at which they are challenged. And it also remains true that many of those people have not awoken and think that J.D. Vance is not only an acceptable substitute for Donald Trump, J.D. Vance is a better president to have than Donald Trump, because he'll be there for 8 years and he's younger and he's so good with the podcast guys and he doesn't make people's moms quite as angry, you know? So we have to be clear-eyed about this stuff. We are still in the midst of an extraordinarily high level, 5th generational information war. Okay. So let's approach it from there. We can be happy. We can be proud of Donald Trump. We can be glad that the communists finally have to recognize that there are a whole lot of Americans out there who genuinely do not agree with them and do not like what they are pursuing. All these things are awesome, but the game's not over. Okay. That's all I'm saying is the game's not over. So let's go around the map a little bit. CNN still has Wisconsin. I mean, what is this checkmark thing they've got going on? Oh, these are the flip states. Okay. So Arizona, Nevada, and Arkansas, for some reason, Alaska is not called Alaska. They're concerned that Alaska voted for Kamala Harris. They held Alaska for a really long time in 2020. I don't know what it is about Alaska. I think that they may have, no, I guess not for president. I think that they've adopted ranked choice voting for something. Might be president too, although Trump got 55%, 55.6. So that wouldn't be one of those situations regardless. But apparently they can't call Alaska with 71% of the vote in, with Donald Trump leading 56 almost to 40. How's that possible? Don't know. All right. We're going to find out, I'm sure. Arizona, they simply stopped updating a while ago, I guess. It doesn't matter now, you see. It doesn't matter. We'll just wait a while, and while we're busy convicting Donald Trump and sentencing him to prison, then we'll resolve that Kerry Lake Senate race. It's going to be too close to call. I mean, who the hell knows what's going to happen? But you can see something like that. It's not hard to imagine that. Nevada is still currently undecided right now. What else do we have? Okay, so let's look at some of the down ballot stuff, all right? So we're told we got the Senate back. We have, I think, 3 flips and 52 in the Republican column. Now, we also have Pennsylvania undecided and Nevada undecided. Donald Trump won Pennsylvania. Let's look at the exact numbers, actually. So we're going to hover over Pennsylvania here as soon as my slow-ass internet catches up. Man, that's really bad, huh? Pennsylvania, Donald Trump, 50.4% to Kamala's 48.5%. There is a difference right now of 134,000 votes. 134,000 votes positive in the Trump column, and the race has been called. And then for Dave McCormick against the incumbent Bob Casey, McCormick is up 32,000 votes. 32,000 votes, Donald Trump up an extra 100,000. So I can see, as I said on the Badlands coverage last night, I can totally see why someone would vote for Donald Trump and then not vote for down ballot candidates. Totally get it. But did 100,000 Pennsylvanians do that, knowing how Pennsylvania's elections are? I don't know. That seems unlikely to me, but we are told that the Senate race is still up for grabs in Pennsylvania, despite 97% having already come in. 97% of the vote total. What are they waiting for? They're just counting. They have counting problems. Is it because of the bomb scares? I mean, the fake bomb scares. Well, they were just totally unsubstantiated bomb scares. They were hoaxes, but they did serve to shut down the voting centers. So now we have to extend the election. Man, shucks. I can't believe those bomb scares happened like that. It's amazing that someone can just make something up, pick up the phone, and now we have a plausible excuse for why an election didn't go as planned. In Nevada, we have Sam Brown up 6,000 votes, the Republican, 0.5% over Jackie Rosen. Let's see what Trump has in Nevada. Oh, here we go. Trump is up 66,000 votes. So we have a difference of 60,000 there out of 1.3 million total votes. It's a big chunk. Why are people voting for Donald Trump and then voting for Jackie Rosen? She's an incumbent. They just like her so much. It's so crazy that they really still just get away with that. Again, if we don't have real elections, then we don't have a country to the extent that our country is going to have representatives. If we are going to be a constitutional republic that holds democratic elections for those representatives, then we have to have real elections. And we don't have real elections. And Donald Trump being declared the winner by the television does not change that. Again, Donald Trump's got the mandate. He's legitimate in the false reality, which is what this election achieved. He's also legitimate in reality prime because he's got the public mandate. And he certainly seems to have the military on his side and the other world powers on his side, recognizing him as the real guy. So questioning his legitimacy doesn't make any sense, but we can contest how that legitimacy was achieved within reality prime, expose it to the people the false reality, expose it to the people stuck in that false reality, and hopefully make the false reality collapse so that what we have left is reality prime. And people then awaken to reality prime, which leads them to the discovery of further important realities, most particularly the reality of God. Okay. So bigger goals. And there's no like lasting stability in this system at this point without that awakening, because the system is still totally corrupted. Can Donald Trump get it all done? Maybe. He's done amazing things. I would never doubt the man ever. Okay. And hopefully he will be able to keep the people inspired and on his side. And it's entirely possible that whatever battle is put up right now by the communists to keep Donald Trump out of office, to threaten his legitimacy, to disqualify him, whatever it is, whatever path they take, all of that could make people fight even harder for Donald Trump. And that would be absolutely wonderful. Okay. So I'm totally down to take the ride. I'm going to play whatever cards were dealt. Not complaining, just saying. As of right this second, the regime has every reason to believe that their election rigging apparatus will stand and will make it through the Trump era. Are we going to have to wait 2 more years until the midterms? Maybe. I don't think it's going to be that long. I hope it's not that long. The people who are about to enter office as a result of yesterday's elections cannot prove their legitimacy in these elections. And if we try to do it, they're not going to let us look. So that part hasn't changed. All right. These elections are unable to confer legitimacy except within that false reality. The good thing is Donald Trump doesn't need it. Okay. The entire election system could drop away and thus invalidate Donald Trump's false reality election win. It's not going to invalidate his public mandate in reality prime and the power around him to support that mandate. Okay. The rest of the world is not on the global regime system and doesn't want to be. All right. Let's, I'm going to check the chat for a moment and then we will have a look. 626 Suze says, do I think war would promote reality prime? And I guess I would have to ask exactly what you mean by promote reality prime. Would it like push people toward reality prime? Yeah. I mean, the last thing we want is some kind of war on American soil. And I don't think that it would be another country attacking us because we are at war with the global regime. We're not at war with Russia or China. We're at war with the global regime, and the global regime is already here with considerable power here. So they would do everything they can to represent that as a civil war, which means that they have to win certain narrative battles in order to get the people to go along with that. All right. And one of those things could be invalidating Donald Trump to provoke a reaction. They can even provoke a fake reaction that they initiate and bring people into it, as they did with the Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping, the J6, very violent insurrection. We don't want that on a civil war countrywide scale. That would be a disaster, which is why, again, you just have to be watchful. You don't have to be scared. You don't have to be worried about things not working out. You just have to be watchful. There are things remaining to be done. 2020 has to be resolved. Okay. There's so much that has to be resolved, but 2020 has to be resolved. If we want real elections, we have to know who's legitimate and who's not, or just remove them all and start over. Okay. There is no scenario where I would worry about Donald Trump winning, not against anyone in Con Inc., not against any Democrat, not against the quote unquote running mate, none of it. Okay. So I'm not worried about Donald Trump. Nothing I'm saying right now threatens Donald Trump or the win. We need to preserve that win. Okay. We have a win in the false reality. Abstract power was conferred to Donald Trump. Now he is the quote unquote president elect. That is a rank in a false reality, party of false decorum, abstract power hierarchy. That's all that is. Okay. He has that rank in reality prime through the public mandate and through the power around him, the power he controls. But in the false reality, it's just conferred abstract power. And that's it. And it can be removed. And they will try to remove it. Okay. We need to point out when they try to remove it that he has the power in reality prime. All right. That's why my approach this morning was, first and foremost, audit every vote in every state. Okay. In every race in every state. Audit every vote, every race, every state. That's all of it. All right. It all should be audited. We should see what those results are. Donald Trump is not under any threat in that scenario. And if that scenario takes a long time, then maybe we're just stuck in this anti-government for a while. All right. That is a fine scenario. It is the scenario we've already been under. We just have the TV telling us that the false reality layer of our government is doing all of these different things. Okay. So none of these are options to fear. We were just looking further down the road. Cavalry says no one wins from a civil war. No one. That is exactly right. The only winner of a civil war is the regime. That is what they want. They destabilize the country again. Even if the people hold and win in a scenario like that, they would be devastated and weakened. So Yeah, man. It's always going that direction. It's the push and pull of everywhere. It's not depressing. It's just reality. All right. And you have to be vigilant about that reality at all times because it's still coming. Where are we? Let's get back to these silly maps because there are a few more things worth pointing out. So we have Donald Trump in North Carolina, 2.876 million to 2.685 million. So 191. Is that where we're at there? 191,000 vote difference, 51% to 47.7% in North Carolina, Trump over Harris. Let's go to the governor's race, where a crowd favorite, Mark Robinson, has been blown out by a Democrat running to replace current communist governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper. And this communist is up by 812,000 votes. I mean, yeah, that's the math. 812,000 votes. Donald Trump was up, what did I say? 191. Trump is up 191,000 votes in North Carolina, and the Democrat governor is beating the awesome Mark Robinson by 812,000 votes. Okay? That's a 1,000,000 vote swing in North Carolina. How the hell does something like that happen? 5.25 million total votes. I have to check my math again. Something like that hardly seems possible. I know that Mark Robinson was accused of having made posts online 14 years ago. he said the word Nazi online 14 years ago. And so he underperforms Donald Trump. The Democrat governor of North Carolina outperformed Donald Trump in North Carolina while Trump won by a lot. 150,000 vote difference the North Carolina governor got over Donald Trump. Okay. And we here are also at around 5.5 million. So that is totally unexplainable. Is anybody in the chat from North Carolina that wants to explain that one for me? I don't I don't understand it. Everybody's saying it's peak false reality. Yeah. I mean, there's no explanation for something like that. That is a preposterous outcome. That right there should be conclusive that something is extremely wrong in North Carolina. I don't know what else that could say to anyone. That is crazy. It's crazy. Let's go to back to governor, I should say. What do we have? Oh, whatever. A commie won in Delaware and a commie won in Washington. So that's not a surprise. Maybe that's all I had for the governor thing. Let's look at the House. So Donald Trump dominant, right? Landslide, red wave. That's what we're hearing. Even Joe Scarborough is telling us that this was the biggest red wave in like 40 years since Reagan. This is the biggest red wave. And Donald Trump, the most popular politician of all time, has now won 3 straight presidential elections, considering that they are all fake. But in reality, prime, he's won 3 straight. He had coattails, ran ahead of average Republicans, and Republicans have flipped 5 Democrat House seats. Democrats have flipped 2 Republican House seats. So that is a +3 in the House. Okay. Maybe it's going to be +4. There are still some, as you see, there are still a bunch of leans, both Democrat and Republican around the country. That's what the light red, the pinkish color there, and the light blue are. Those are still undecided. Those are current toss-ups. They need 218 to win. Republicans are at 207, and everybody is just taking for granted that the Republicans will hold on to the House. Okay, well, that's great, right? Because that means that Jamie Raskin won't have the House members to disqualify Donald Trump under some absurd and false reading of the 14th Amendment that was not properly ratified after the Civil War, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're going to go through these story parts. There are things to think about. We want to understand how the system works. We want to know the moral of the story. We want to know what we're going to have to defend against, because there are going to be psyops launched against this at every stage, and we're going to have to just nip them right in the bud every single time. All right. Again, it's not bad. We're going to have fun with it. It'll be lots of jokes. We're going to be feeling very confident. We're not going to be as scared of speaking out online. All these things are wonderful assets. We are in a wonderful position. I'm not upset. I'm just saying the regime also thinks this is a wonderful position, and they're happy to play this hand, and I'll prove it in a few minutes. But through the good twin, evil twin paradigm, is this a MAGA majority in the House, or is this just a bunch of people with R's next to their names? Did you vote for MAGA candidates in the primary, and did those MAGA candidates defeat establishment candidates? And are you sure those MAGA candidates are MAGA candidates? I'm not, okay? I don't know. And I don't think anybody knows, to tell you the truth. Like, we can guess around the margins, but everybody should be considered a wild card, okay? We want to deal in sure things, and we have the ability to achieve sure things because we know the people are on Donald Trump's side. And it's not just about being Trump supporters, okay? It's about supporting the right thing when they understand what that right thing is. We have been conditioned to believe only wrong things. When people realize that, they want to know the right things. And when they understand what the right things are, they want to see those right things implemented. Okay? We are heading down a perfectly natural path, but we actually have to continue to guide people to the proper destination. Otherwise, they just say, oh man, we already got it. It's all Republicans. It's going to be fine. Oh, they're never going to vote against Trump in those situations. They would just get voted right out of office, man. I mean, imagine how many times we're going to hear something like that. Is that how it works? Are elections fixed now? Of course they're not. Steve says, I'm thankful for the win last night, but we can't go on like this. And I think Chris agrees with me, or I him, that 2020 must be rectified. Absolutely. It's got to be rectified. Okay. And it's not rectified now, which means that we are about to approve and give our consent to the seating of a House of Representatives that cannot prove its own legitimacy. And it does not get legitimacy conferred to it through Donald Trump's win. Okay. That doesn't mean the elections are legitimate. It doesn't mean that all the votes cast, even for Donald Trump, are legitimate votes. There's a whole lot of new Republican registrations in the system, aren't there? And we're told, hallelujah, look at these Republican registrations. Well, we don't know how those Republican registrations got in there. We don't know that they're attached to real lawful American voters, do we? There's no way to know that. So how do we know that they're not just part of the rigging apparatus that was used to cast votes for Donald Trump and then install uniparty candidates in office? We don't know that. Okay. There's a lot of game left to be played. There are good reasons to believe, to understand with certainty that our elections are very much stolen. We have seen last night, we can now see North Carolina. Just take North Carolina and leave the rest of it. And even if you're going to say that Mark Robinson did something wrong and wouldn't have won anyway, all right? It's not a million votes. It's not a million votes. A million votes for Mark Robinson. What's going on with Kerry Lake? Kerry Lake got crushed by Ruben Gallego? No, it's not possible. Kerry Lake's election was robbed from her in 2022. I mean, why would we believe any of it? Honestly, We know that Trump is more powerful. We know he had the public mandate. Kamala wasn't even a real candidate. They just threw her into a wood chipper in July to get rid of her, most likely. I mean, Kamala is awful, and now they don't have to deal with her. She is no longer at the top of their power structure, okay? She's lost. She's old news. No one needs Kamala anymore. What's she going to do? Go back to California in office? Go back in the Senate? No. So, man, I don't know. I would love to be the optimistic person that just says, okay, guys, that's it. We can all wrap it up now. Let's go back to our lives. Whatever our lives were before. I mean, but this is the scenario that I have said would play out for a year. I would have loved to nail the Larry Hogan thing. If that would have been a wonderful proof of this scenario. But gosh, man, all you have to understand is that the elections are still pretty obviously stolen. And if you can't at that point understand that that means Donald Trump won a rigged election, that's what he did. Okay. The TV declared Donald Trump the winner of a rigged election. That is not a knock on Donald Trump's legitimacy. He has legitimacy in reality prime. All right. He has the public mandate. The court of public opinion is behind him. The court of public opinion knows Donald Trump is the president. And if you told the country that Donald Trump was the president right at this moment, and he didn't need to go through the rest of the rigmarole, everybody would be just fine with it. Okay. People would not revolt against that. That is how much Donald Trump has the public mandate. Okay. It's not a question of his legitimacy. What he did last night was win a fake election. Actually, the TV said that he won a fake election. He did that in the false reality layer. He had abstract power conferred to him in the title of president-elect. Okay. And they will try to take that abstract power away. They will not be able to do it, and it wouldn't matter anyway. Okay. The two systems are parallel. The false one is layered on top of the real one. They are still going to move in parallel until there is only one left. All right. We are reaching a point of convergence. And at that point, people will decide, and everybody will move to the false reality for the most part, or everybody will move to reality prime for the most part. I believe everybody is going to move to reality prime. And I believe everybody is going to want to be better within reality prime as a result of their new understanding. And it is on that basis that I believe the American Renaissance is just ahead. We are seeing the cracks of light on the horizon. The dawn of the American Renaissance is just ahead. Okay. It cannot be any more optimistic. I hope everybody understands that. And Donald Trump is going to drive that bus all the way to that horizon. All right. 100%. We're all good. But there's also this other stuff to deal with. And we have to deal with it because no matter what the political reality is, or the reality on television, or what we understand to be objective reality prime, we still have to live in it. Okay. And in order to live in it, and in order to make something stable that lasts, we have to do things the right way, which means we have to understand how the system works. If we just tune out and we let the system go back to doing what it does without our attention paid, without understanding how the system works, then the system brings us right back here, which is the cycle of all of human time, as far as I can understand it. So if that's what happens, that's what happens. Maybe it's every generation, or every, turning the course of 3 generations. Maybe it just has to happen every 75 years. Okay. Because by that time, the people who lived it as young people have grown into old people, and they don't care anymore. They want to forget it. Maybe they don't even remember anymore. And then they pass on and another generation takes their place. And when that happens, you run the risk of everyone forgetting. So anyhow, Sarsaparilla just brought up RFK Jr.'s comments about Donald Trump. I actually wanted to share those today regardless. So maybe now is a perfect time to do that. And then we will get back to some of the ballot measures, because I think once again, we'll see the evidence of election manipulation and election rigging. And it's going to be in the red states just like it's in the blue states, because it's not a Democrat-Republican problem. It is a uniparty problem. Democrat and Republican exist in the false reality only. There is nothing for them in reality prime except the uniparty. Here is Bobby Kennedy with Tucker Carlson.
A lot of people think that Trump is a conventional politician because the last time around he initially appointed a lot of very conventional people, of kind of lobbyists, etc.
Yeah.
People don't remember almost his entire cabinet was gone within 2 years.
Yes.
As he learned to govern, and he wants to do, he will do what he wants to do. And I spent 2 days with him recently, and he was saying things that were kind of shocking to me. He was saying things like that, the kind of change, the level of change that he wants to make in our government, I think is going to be unprecedented. And
shocking to you in a good way?
Yeah, in a good way. But just, that it's so impolitic. He's an impolitic guy. And I think he's a guy that does what he wants to do.
Well, can I give you an example?
He wants a revolution, and I think he's going to get one.
Now, that is quite an answer. He wants a revolution, and I think he's going to get one. I have no doubt Donald Trump is going to make some serious change. I am happy about that change. The people have a role in that change, and they have to guide that change. And they especially have to watch everyone who is now around Donald Trump, who is not Donald Trump. Okay? They're just not Donald Trump. It doesn't matter how much you like the TV characters. They're not your friend. You don't know them, and they're not Donald Trump. So all of those people need to be watched. All right. And Con Inc.'s not going to do it. So it is not our job to just cheer on the people on TV as they take political power in our country. And if that's your thing, okay, nobody has to be involved with any of this stuff. All right. It's not like my business to tell you what to do. But if we're going to go through the motions of being involved, and we should at least be observing it on a real level and not the way it is presented to us by the television. What we watched last night is the people who lied to us about everything in COVID, everything in the summer of love, everything in the very violent insurrection, everything with the fake election, everything with the Ukraine war, everything with the Israel war, everything about immigration and the economy and trade and Nazis and all of the women, the Stormy Daniels and the E. Jean Carrolls, all the people who lied to us about all that stuff last night told us who our new ruler was. Okay. That is what happened last night. They did not tell us that because they observed something in reality and were like, oh, wow, this reality, holy moly. Do any of those people on TV really believe that our elections are the way they portray on television after 4 years? What got fixed about our elections to lead anybody to believe that our elections are any better than they were 4 years ago? Okay. Oh, sorry. I didn't need to show that on TV. Don't worry for those audio people. It was just a link to the Kamala speech that is coming up soon. It was not anything salacious. Starborn in the chat posted the link to Kamala's upcoming speech. It's supposed to be happening in a few minutes. We will go to that live. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Listen to this. This is so stupid. I can't believe this is real. Listen to this. I mean, oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, that is horrible. So, I mean, what was that? En Vogue? That was Howard University, the same stage set up from last night for whatever reason, there's a bulletproof shield there to protect Kamala. Don't know what that's about. Yeah, you guys, I'm keeping an eye on the chat. So if a bunch of people spam me, she's walking out, I'm totally going to switch over to it right away. All right. You don't have to worry about me missing that. I'm going to see it right here. So she's at Howard, I guess. That's where she's going to go. Kamala might not even be black, even though she pretends she's half black, but she's going to her black alma mater to give her concession speech. Last night, she had one of her campaign managers, I guess, come out and announce that she would not be giving a statement. Very reminiscent, as we showed on Battles of Padang out in 2016, to say that Hillary would not be making a concession that night and that she'd address the country tomorrow. Same thing as the night in 2000 with the Bush v. Gore situation. Oh, that was Beyonce, I'm being told in the chat. I apologize for not knowing Beyonce's music. I do know some of Beyonce's music. I'm not trying to be so hipster that I don't know major pop songs. I know quite a few major pop songs because I used to work in nightlife and I used to ride in a lot of Ubers, and Ubers always have uber awful music playing. While we are waiting, again, you guys have to tell me, and when you tell me, we will switch over, okay, on that YouTube link. But while we're waiting for that, let's go back to little maps at CNN.com and look at some of the ballot measures. By the way, we're hearing all sorts of exit polling today. Exit polls are just as fake as normal polls, okay? These are narrative devices. There is no reason to believe those exit polls represent any discernible reality whatsoever. They are not required to represent any discernible reality whatsoever. There's no reason to give them the benefit of the doubt just because the people on television do, and just because other political influencers or commentators or pundits do, okay? It doesn't matter who trusts that they are a real thing. They are not a real thing, and we already know that going in. They don't become real because people we like trust them. Ballot measures. Arizona passes a constitutional right to abortion. They can already determine that without having any idea of what is going on in their Senate race, because it is just such a dominant issue in Arizona, the place with among the worst. Let's leave out the deep blue states and the deep red states. Of the states that have been closely examined in terms of their elections, Arizona has maybe the worst. They're all, I mean, it's impossible at this point to call any of them the worst. They are all so bad. Also, states that we think are great red states with good elections, the elections are still bad. In Florida, the elections are bad. Ron DeSantis has not fixed elections in Florida, and states control their own elections. Okay. Donald Trump's not going to be able to, he can expose elections, and I hope he will. We better get that. I mean, the idea that we're not going to get 2020 truth at this point seems crazy. And again, maybe that's a wonderful advancement from the developments of yesterday, but maybe it's not. We're just going to have to see how it plays out. So ballot measures in various places. Florida did not pass their constitutional right to abortion by a very, very teeny tiny little bit. It really is pretty amazing. Let me just see what Trump's numbers were in Florida. I was tracking that pretty closely last night. Florida had about 11 million total votes in 2020, and they are just shy of 11 million. They're around 10.8 and a half million with 99% of the vote in, it says. Okay. Trump is up by 1.5 million. over Kamala. Ballot measure on abortion. So the yes position would have made a constitutional right to abortion a real thing. The vote difference is 1.5 million. So that is a 3 million swing. A 3 million swing. From Trump up 1.5 million to yay abortion up 1.5 million in the same state. How does that happen? How does it happen that someone goes out and votes for Donald Trump, the most hated man of all time, but they're like, you know what? I really think women do deserve a constitutional right to abortion. After Trump was the guy that got rid of Roe v. Wade. Hey, man, maybe I just don't understand how these things work. Maybe it's just there's something special in the voters' minds that make them do these things. I don't think that's how it is, man. I really don't think that's how it is. So how do we explain this? Because this is what gave Ron DeSantis his big win in 2022. This system, right? He started that state board. Is the state board going to study their elections? I know everybody wants to believe that this is just everything's done and dusted. We have a landslide. All of it's real. Now we get to go off and, I don't know, watch a different TV show forever. These are not real elections. And Donald Trump won Florida, right? Did Donald Trump actually win Florida in reality prime? Yes, Donald Trump certainly has the public mandate in Florida in reality prime. And he still has the power around him. Okay. Nobody's going to knock him off that pedestal, except in the false reality, potentially. But that doesn't mean that he won a real election in the false reality. And these races this is crazy. Okay. Marijuana, not legalized anywhere. So not even in Florida. And Ron and Casey DeSantis ran against that. And people are going to have different feelings about that. I think the idea that we're imprisoning people for weed is silly. You can say, well, this is what allows the criminalization of mass quantities from drug dealers. Maybe, probably not. You could say this is what would allow states to tax on that. Maybe, probably not. Maybe, right? Maybe. Maybe that's all they're going for. Regardless, it seems like something the government should not be allowed to do. I don't know. It's really hard to say that the government should have the kind. Kamala is on. Sorry, guys. I'm just seeing this. Kamala is on. I'm hearing. I'm going to switch subjects without a segue and get over to Kamala. Oh, she's not on in mine. Wait a second here. Is someone trying to trick me? Or is there just another feed where Kamala is already on? If there's another feed where Kamala is on, you guys can absolutely let me know and we'll switch over to that one. Okay, the music is on, not Kamala. False alarm. Why are you guys false alarming me? I expect better. Okay. At the risk of missing when Kamala comes on, I'm going to go back to the ballot measure page here, go through some of these, because it's very important that people understand that ballot measures, the idea that our elections are good because Donald Trump won is a non sequitur, right? It ain't true. It doesn't even make sense. Elections, the legitimacy of elections can only be proven through the examination of those elections in a transparent fashion, okay? They need to be fully verifiable by everyone. Everyone should know that their vote was cast and counted properly and that no improper, illegal, unlawful votes by anyone who is not an eligible American are counted. And we don't know that. And Donald Trump being declared the winner by the television is not proof of that. It's not anywhere close to proof of that. And I know I'm preaching to the choir with you guys, but these are things that we have to hammer. Okay. If commies are talking shit, just say, hey, commie, you think that's a big win? Imagine how this is going to look once all of the fraud is removed from these totals. Okay. And then let them melt down. They want the thing about election fraud to be over because they know, they've always known the system was rigged in their favor. Now they are concerned that the system is rigged against them. They're holding on to these elections. If people go after these elections and it means that they were wrong about 2020, they are going to lose their damn minds. Okay. That is a breaking point for these people because they know they've been lying about it for 4 years. And that includes the Con Inc. people, by the way. They've been lying about it for 4 years and they want it to go away as well. They are not going to want to examine the elections to see whether or not our elections are stolen. They're going to want to move on. Again, this is one of the points for this result from the regime perspective. All their people get to move on. They love it. This is what they love. Yeah, man, I am like stunned by the fact that people don't see any pitfalls ahead of us whatsoever. Maybe it's just the haze of the celebration. Okay. Maybe in a few days that wears off once the TV starts hammering us again. Today it's telling us, oh, look at that. We on the TV just don't understand these people enough. That's the problem. We're going to say different things to you in the future. We promise. Just don't question that election thing because we're going to say the same thing about that. Checking in on Kamala. Still no Kamala. All we have is her bulletproof shield. She's still speaking in front of her ridiculous Vice President of the United States seal. And of course, I'm not mad at the seal. She just shouldn't have any seal at all. She's a fake vice president. Hey, Doomchick says, even Viva Fry stole Chris's saying, okay, commie. Does he say that a lot or did he only say that the one time? Because if he says that a lot, he needs to get all blown up about that. Let's see what else we get. Wait a second. So Sunshine State, Florida is saying hashtag Trump cheated is trending on Twitter. Now, hey, man, that'll be fun. I'm game. Bring it on. I was the guy on Badlands Media last night. We went till about, I was on with them till about 3 a.m. Eastern time, maybe a little later, little after that. And they hadn't, some of the networks hadn't called it for Donald Trump at that point. And I was of the mind that maybe they wouldn't, and maybe they'll try to push this back. It doesn't seem to be that way right now, but I wouldn't put anything past these people. And I mean, unless Kamala concedes, which apparently she's supposed to be doing right now. We are told that she called Donald Trump to concede. So that would at least end the contest on that level. A different contest will begin after that. I wonder why Kamala has been election denying all day. You would think that she would want to get in there and make things right so that there aren't any election deniers anywhere. Ballot measures, increasing minimum wage, allow lower wages for tipped workers. These are just various ballot measures that I didn't pay a lot of attention to be quite honest. Alaska wants to repeal ranked choice voting. They can't call that one yet. Alaska's still up for grabs for president too. Arizona require partisan primaries. That has gone down. Who knows what that means? Perhaps they have these open primaries like California, for instance. So in California, they just have a Democrat run against a Democrat in the general each and every time because two Democrats will win the open primary, or a Democrat and an independent. They will never actually be challenged in an election process, in a debate, or in the actual election. It is just a pure selection all the way through, and it is allowed to ride, and it cannot even be contested because someone couldn't run their own independent candidacy and actually have a chance of winning. The process itself forbids that. That's crazy. Colorado implementing ranked choice voting. That's not happening yet. That's good. Some Supreme Court seats and some other ballot measures as we go along. But the Florida abortion thing makes no sense relative to Trump results. Okay. Gosh, man. And you have to wonder, it's very, very close to the result on the legalization of marijuana. So 56% of Florida wanted to legalize marijuana. And maybe that's supposed to have some kind of correlation with whether or not they would want a constitutional right to abortion. Cat Girl just said, that's insane, Chris. Hopefully it's not something I said and more something I pointed out. You can let me know. Maybe it's something I said. There are a lot of pro-life activists in Florida. Well, Cat Girl, to be honest, pro-life activists, like the Pro-Life Incorporated activists, all of this was a win for them last night. It's also a win to try to create a national abortion bill or national abortion amendment and then take that all the way up to Trump. So, man, I don't know. People want to imagine that the whole Con Inc. thing is just a figment of the imagination, that the Uniparty is just a figment of the imagination. Republicans won. The system is the system. This is how it works. Just deal with it. Man, the system that is in place right now that the Uniparty supports will always go in the same direction. Always. And it does not have real elections, and they want to censor Americans. So where is your voice in the process if you leave the system in place as it is right now? You do not have a voice, and that is ultimately the point that must be recognized and must be dealt with. So Kamala is still not out. Maybe she's just taking her time, taking her sweet ass time. It would really be something to have her come out and announce that she is not conceding. Holy moly. I would love that. That's the sort of thing that will make people wake up a little bit immediately. Oh, wait, you mean the TV's not totally telling me the truth and it could be this other thing? Watch the communists go crazy if they think that they have a chance. Still a lot of game left to be played. All right, now we have some young bearded fellow. Mic check, mic check. Now we have some woman giving him a low five or a handshake or something. And now maybe she is stepping up to the mic. I could have just put this on so you guys could actually see it. It's not much to see, to be honest. Camera movement. No, now we're going back to the hallway because we got to set up the shot for when Kamala walks out. Bye-bye, lady. She came just to do the same thing the guy did. Or maybe she brought out Kamala's special folder. She had something in her hand, and now she does not. Oh, the hallowed halls of Howard University, awaiting the very real vice president of the United States, Kamala. Someone in the chat quoting Lindsey Graham, Brogent. If Donald Trump gets elected again, I will propose a federal abortion ban, which allows the pro-abortion and life lobbies to go crazy, complete opposite of Trump's policy. And yes, indeed, it is. Good point, Brogent. And that was, I believe, Lindsey Graham in the days just after the Dobbs decision was leaked or maybe officially released, but in the summer of 2022, because Lady G down there in South Carolina wanted to make abortion a national issue again for the 2022 midterms, where we needed to see a red wave disappear and Con Inc. would then attack MAGA. That was the point of the election psyop of 2022. Still people milling around, just milling and milling. They're Mark Millinging. Mark Millieing. Let's go with that. They're Mark Millieing around. Some camera ladies are coming out. Chick with an afro. Lots going on down at Howard University. What else do we want to talk about? Maybe I can knock a few things out while we are waiting for this ridiculousness to commence. Words from Kamala. It's so funny because what is she going to say? You know, she has her one speech. Is she going to be inspiring? Is she going to talk about the glass ceiling? Is she going to talk about racism? Is she going to accuse us? What is she going to accuse us of? Let's have a look at some media reaction. Actually, let's check out this this Reddit post first. Cracked me up today. And you know, I generally would not share something like this unless I had heard this same sort of notion just around on the internet. Seems like this is one of those things that's kind of settling into the public consciousness, which is a good way of observing always what is going on. See what it is people are talking about and attaching to and figure out why they're saying it. Maybe asks if that's bulletproof glass. Yes, it sure is. You've got to protect Kamala from the 0 people who want to kill her. Reddit lies on Twitter, X, formerly Twitter. A post from Reddit where someone said, where are the 20 million voters who voted for Biden in 2020? Trump got about the same votes as 2020, but Harris lost many Biden voters. And of course, that's true, but there weren't many Biden voters. That's what I'm wondering, says someone in the replies. It doesn't make sense to me right now. How did 2024 see less voters? And that should be fewer voters, internet man. Not trying to be the other guys, but something smells so fishy here. And he probably means he doesn't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist because they are very harsh to people who sound like conspiracy theorists. They recommend a very cordoned off set of narratives over on Reddit. And of course, they are also manipulated, as we have learned, by the Kamala campaign. But he says the numbers don't make sense with all the meaning new galvanized voters. Where are those votes at? Well, first off, my fair communist. That's one of the things that I would have immediately deleted while I'm doing my normal show. Like, oh, edit. I said fellow instead of my fair communist. That is one of those questions that's really hard to answer, isn't it? Where are all those new galvanized voters? It's almost as if they don't exist and that the TV just lied to you, Kami. I know it's impossible. It's hard to believe, but the television lied to you. Those voters don't exist. There is no Democrat majority. There is no Kamala majority. There is no Joe Biden majority. None of these things are real in reality prime. They are figments of the false reality and that alone. And the sooner we have fully done away with them, the better we are. Where is Kamala? I'm getting really nervous about Kamala. I mean, I know she's safe at Howard University. There's no place where she could ever be safer than her very important alma mater, where she was historically Black. I am Kamala Harris, historically Black woman, and I approve this message. Let's look at some of the reactions from around the world. This looks like it's from France. Society magazine. There is a red necktie hanging the Statue of Liberty. This is not a call to violence. This is not a call to hang Donald Trump by Society Magazine. And it's a conspiracy theory to suspect that it is. But if this was 2020, if this was November 2020, and that was made about Joe Biden, then, you know, that's insurrection. Let's see what else. This is, wait, no, let's go to one more European one first. This is an outlet called The New European. The End, it says in bold letters on the front cover, with a picture of the Statue of Liberty holding a revolver directly to its own temple. So, again, awfully violent rhetoric. Are they suggesting violence? Are they suggesting that Donald Trump is going to be the end of liberty, or merely the end of that weird and maybe satanic statue that we were given by a foreign country to make it seem awesome that we would just accept whoever the global slave trade sent our way? A 357 Python, to be exact, aimed at the Statue of Liberty's head, says Bay Theater Dave, and I'm going to have to trust you, Dave. If you are steering me down the wrong path, oh, you're going to have hell to pay. Here is an American outlet, The New Statesman. Donald Trump rendered as the Statue of Liberty, his right side a deep red, his left side a dark blue or purple. And it says, Trump takes America, a special issue on a crushing victory and a new political era. Well, commies, be crushed. I hear Kamala is on stage. Oh, man. Are you guys fooling me again? You fooled me and I won't be fooled again. Hold on. Let me hear this. Oh, here she is. She's walking out. Maybe you have a feed that is slightly ahead of mine. And if you do, apologies. Let's go to Kamala with Beyonce. Oh, she's clapping. Oh, she's happy. Women don't quit on themselves. An odd song for a concession speech, but we're just going to have to assume that conceding is not quitting. She's just differently competing. All right, here we go to Kamala.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So let me say, and I love you back. And I love you back. So let me say, my heart is full today. My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright.
That's weird. I thought we were entering a Nazi dictatorship.
As we never give up, and as long as we keep fighting.
She is suggesting an insurrection right now.
To my beloved Doug and our family, I love you so very much. To President Biden and Dr. Biden, thank you for your faith and support. To Governor Walz and the Walz family, I know your service to our nation will continue. And to my extraordinary team, to the volunteers who gave so much of themselves, to the poll workers and the local election officials, I thank you all. Look, I am so proud of the race we ran and the way we ran it. Over the 107 days of this campaign, we have been intentional about building community and building coalitions, bringing people together from every walk of life and background, united by love of country with enthusiasm and joy in our fight for America's future. And we did it with the knowledge that we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Now, I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power.
Unbelievable.
A fundamental principle of American democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the results. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny. And anyone who seeks the public trust must honor it. At the same time, in our nation, we owe loyalty not to a president or a party, but to the Constitution of the United States. And loyalty to our conscience and to our God. My allegiance to all three is why I am here to say, while I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. A fight for the ideals at the heart of our nation, the ideals that reflect America at our best. That is a fight I will never give up. I will never give up the fight for a future where Americans can pursue their dreams, ambitions, and aspirations, where the women of America have the freedom to make decisions about their own body and not have their government telling them what to do. We will never give up the fight to protect our schools and our streets from gun violence. And America, we will never give up the fight for our democracy, for the rule of law, for equal justice, and for the sacred idea that every one of us, no matter who we are or where we start out, has certain fundamental rights and freedoms that must be respected and upheld. And we will continue to wage this fight in the voting booth, in the courts, and in the public square. And we will also wage it in quieter ways, in how we live our lives, by treating one another with kindness and respect, by looking in the face of a stranger and seeing a neighbor, by always using our strength to lift people up, to fight for the dignity that all people deserve. The fight for our freedom will take hard work, but like I always say, we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard
This
work can be
lady
joyful work.
is a moron.
And the fight for our country is always worth it. It is always worth it. To the young people who are watching, it is, I love you guys. To the young people who are watching, it is okay to feel sad and disappointed, but please know it's going to be okay. On the campaign, I would often say, when we fight, we win. But here's the thing. Sometimes the fight takes a while. That doesn't mean we won't win. That doesn't mean we won't win. The important thing is don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Don't ever stop trying to make the world a better place. You have power. You have power. And don't you ever listen when anyone tells you something is impossible because it has never been done before. You have the capacity to do extraordinary good in the world. And so to everyone who is watching, do not despair. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together. Look, many of you know I started out as a prosecutor, and throughout my career, I saw people at some of the worst times in their lives. People who had suffered great harm and great pain, and yet found within themselves the strength and the courage and the resolve to take the stand, to take a stand, to fight for justice, to fight for themselves, to fight for others. So let their courage be our inspiration. Let their determination be our charge. And I'll close with this. There's an adage an historian once called a law of history, true of every society across the ages. The adage is, only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. I know many people feel like we are entering a dark time, but for the benefit of us all, I hope that is not the case. But here's the thing, America, if it is, let us fill the sky with the light of a brilliant, brilliant billion of stars. The light of optimism, of faith, of truth, and service. HU. And may that work guide us, even in the face of setbacks, toward the extraordinary promise of the United States of America. I thank you all. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. I thank you all.
All right. Well, thank goodness that is over. Good Lord. That was absolutely awful. It was also pretty, I don't know what the right word is, subtly evil. That was basically an Obama-esque resistance sort of speech. Kamala is, I mean, maybe fully controlled. Fine. Got it. You know, one side or the other is fully controlling Kamala. I totally understand. But that was very much Antifa, bailout Antifa Kamala speaking. That was Barack Obama guiding BLM Antifa speaking. Some people in the chat are calling it a call to arms. You could call it that. I guess we'll see. They are talking about normal people who support Democrats supporting the people with the courage to go fight for it. Sounds like coded language. We'll find out. I don't want to suggest any conspiracy theories here. The media does that with everything Donald Trump says. Now, I think that there's a chance that BLM Antifa has been wrapped for a number of years now. I don't think that your average communist is going to go out to support Kamala Harris, but who knows what they've done with illegal aliens. You know, maybe they set something else up. They certainly have enough to fund and incentivize people. So that's not great. She pursued the strategy that everyone should recognize. She said, we have to respect the outcome of these elections. Okay. The elections are all good. And that's the thing right there. Preserve the election apparatus, knowing it's going to be there for later, knowing that there are still results to come in and that everybody has to support faith in the election system. And the communists will tell us, hey, maggot, you're not allowed to question these election systems because you say Trump won. Okay, what's our answer to that? What is our answer for all the people who are out there celebrating that Trump win? They don't have one because they haven't thought through this question. And a lot of people who have thought through the question are going to encourage them and condition them and teach them not to be concerned about that because they're too busy groveling before, I don't know, an effigy of Trump as the God King that they keep at their house. I love Trump. See my hat? Make America great again. I risked many things in my life to support Donald Trump. Okay. But he's not my God King. And the purpose is not to celebrate him at all times. If we care about Donald Trump and the project of making America great again, we should be doing the things we need to be doing, not celebrating him so that we can all feel and tell each other how much unity we have. Oh, I feel so unified with everybody. By the way, here is a scene from a very funny film that will sound very familiar to people who just listened to. It is the great White Men Can't Jump, starring Wesley Snipes, Rosie Perez, and the legend Woody Harrelson.
Hi. How much do you love me?
I love you infinity.
That's not enough.
Infinity is the biggest number there is.
No, it's not.
You tell me one bigger.
Infinity plus 2.
I love you infinity plus 2.
Oh, Billy, you're so stupid. You should have said I love you infinity plus infinity.
Man, this isn't even the right clip. That's a funny clip. Rosie Perez is a funny actress, but that is absolutely not the right clip. Oh, here we go. Why is that thing labeled wrong? Maybe I'm just dumb. I suppose that's possible. Anything's possible.
It's simple. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. But under no circumstances do you ask for the money back.
Why not?
Because it's not part of the rules.
Oh, yeah? And you know, Billy, I got a different set of rules of mine. You want to hear them? Here they go. Sometimes when you win, you really lose. And sometimes when you lose, you really win. And sometimes when you win or lose, you actually tie. And sometimes when you tie, you actually win or lose.
I hate it when you talk like that.
So that was way too quiet. She says, sometimes when you win, you actually lose. Sometimes when you lose, you actually win. Sometimes when you win or lose, you actually tie. And sometimes when you tie, you actually win or lose. So Congratulations, Kamala. I guess you did one of those things. Oh, wow. That was such a bad speech. But she hit all the notes you could expect her to hit. She wants to continue to fire them up and keep them fighting. And she wants to let everybody know that if there's one thing we can trust, it is our election system. In fact, if we don't trust it, I know everybody thought we were past it, but we're not. If we don't trust it, then we are insurrectionists. Hold on. Let me get one more example of this from the truly horrific Liz Cheney. And don't worry, it's not going to be Liz Cheney's awful voice. No, you get Mika Brzezinski, Morning Mika, to read Liz Cheney's tweet for you. So it's kind of a tour.
The democratic system functioned last night, and we have a new president-elect. All Americans are bound, whether we like the outcome or not, to accept the results of our elections. We now have a special responsibility as citizens of the greatest nation on earth to do everything we can to support and defend our Constitution, preserve the rule of law, and ensure that our institutions hold over these coming 4 years. Citizens across this country, our courts, members of the press, and those serving in our federal, state, and local governments must now be the guardrails of democracy.
Okay. So, you know, some people think that's a call to arms for all the people in the administrative state and in governments around the country to subvert Donald Trump's next term. It may well be that. It's definitely partly that, but that's not the key part, because the key part is to preserve the election apparatus, as it always is. Preserving the election apparatus gives them control over all of the parts of the process. If they have to give up one president for 4 years while the rest of it continues moving forward, they are by and large willing to do that. It's not the most ideal outcome, but it's ideal enough for them to deal with. This is an acceptable position for them to be in, because they are still going to work to undermine Donald Trump. And you know who's going to help them do it? People in all these other elections around the country that haven't yet been determined. And so she's selling the idea to all those Republicans who denied the existence of election fraud and rigging in the first place. She is giving them an out now. Okay. She's saying, hey, normie Republicans, we got through it. Don't worry. Donald Trump won. The election stuff's never going to come out. You just stay right where you were a year ago. Remember when you said that elections are just fine and that Trump actually did lose, and that's why we need Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley, because they can actually win an election? Remember when you said all that dumb bullshit? It was right. It was totally right. Liz Cheney says it's right, and now we just keep going. That's what she's saying. You don't believe me? Let's look at CNN right now, 2 seconds after Kamala Harris walks off the stage. What's this huge headline? Right on their front page, Harris urges supporters to accept results. Amazing, isn't it? How is it possible? You want to look at more? Let's look at more news sites. We'll just pull them up. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there will be no other sites. New York Times is not covering Harris. Oh, okay, hold on. Here's just a little note they have. While I concede the election, I do not concede this fight. I'm sad and disappointed. Sometimes the fight takes a while. Yep. They're going to fight for 4 more years. They're going to resist, as they did a few years ago. Let's see what Fox News has to say. Oh, this is a DeSantis article in Fox News. Oh, gosh. No, not video. Not video. No. Oh, we almost had video of Kamala. Man, I hate it when other articles come up. Trump returns to power. Kamala concedes but urges supporters to keep fighting. All right. Well, Let's try one more news site. What should we do? Politico. Let's see what Politico says. Harris speaks after losing presidency. What in the world? So, all right, well, that's taking forever to load. Sooner or later, I'm actually going to install my Starlink and have better internet at that point. Bernie Sanders blasts Democrat Party following Harris loss. Interesting. All right, where's her speech? Okay, my little experiment. Oh, that's not even the right page. Dum, 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 dum. Oh, no, it was. It's not there. Anyway, my little experiment didn't go quite as planned, but I'm sure we will see that narrative developing over the next few days. They have to preserve the system. That is what it's all about. It is an acceptable retreat for them to give the position to Donald Trump, however briefly. I'm going to get to Substack comments in just a second. Let's do some of the media reaction because there's some media critique in here that I think is very interesting. First, Steve Bannon I don't know what Doomchick. I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to tell me. And Madison asking about Starlink. I've used Starlink before. I used Starlink when I was away last summer, and I found it to be a fantastic option, particularly in a rural area where there was no high-speed internet. Okay, let's go to Steve Bannon last night. This is very interesting.
We were just on Charlie Kirk's coverage. We're going to get ready. Megyn Kelly's going to join us here in a minute. Actually, I felt the need to talk about the 2020 election, how it's stolen. So, Charlie Kirk.
You missed that YouTube window, Steve.
Hold on. Charlie Kirk, what are you talking about, Charlie? We're permanently banned on YouTube. We're permanently banned on Spotify. We were permanently banned on...
The number one spreader of misinformation.
Number one spreader of misinformation 2 years in a row.
Wow.
Who wins that and then gets the crown again? And you're sitting there telling me, don't say anything about... I felt like I was on the Tim Pool show. They kind of brief you when you go into Tim Pool. You can't say anything about election denial. Why would we say anything election denial? We're only doing the show from where we had the war room in the Willard Hotel to make sure that we could actually reverse the big steal, and we're over the ellipse. Yes, we're doing this to put it up in the grill of Jack Smith and Nancy Pelosi and Merrick Garland and CNN and MSNBC. Suck on that, okay? That's what we think about 2020. And hey, where are those low propensity voters in Pennsylvania? The ones that mysteriously came out in 2020. But, by the way, when we won 15 House seats, John Solomon.
So how about that? I know that people get very upset when I go after media figures that are on our side. What are you to make of that? Steve Bannon just went after Charlie Kirk and Tim Pool, who are in some way associated and go on one of their shows and appear at the same conferences, all a part of that big Con Inc. op, that media op we've talked about for a long time. And people always think I'm shooting inside the tent, going after all these people who are legitimately on our side. Are Tim Pool and Charlie Kirk legitimately on our side? People think Charlie Kirk must be because he does those big turning point events. Donald Trump speaks there. Lots of young people come out. Maybe that's helpful. Or maybe that explains high turnout numbers for Republicans. And maybe many of those Republicans are putting uniparty candidates in there and supporting the Donald Trump win within the fake election paradigm. Totally possible. You know, a lot of people who present as allies are not necessarily allies. And there are more challenges to come, and we have to see how people will react to various narratives. Is Charlie Kirk just going to ignore election integrity after this? What happens then? The chat has been saying sporadically, as have people all day, where are those extra 20 million voters that Biden had? That's a damn good question. Where are they? They're nowhere. These election results as we see them don't make any sense. Now, again, I think that deficit will probably be closer to 10 million additional voters, quote unquote, from 2020 than what we're going to get in 2024. But the point is, these elections are fake. They don't become real from Donald Trump winning. And so there's more to be done. They are stealing elections under our noses right now while we celebrate. And we think that's not possible, or it doesn't matter, or Trump's back. Now he's going to be taken care of. Like, that is not what a sovereign individual thinks. Okay. That's your problem in the future if it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go in your uncaring avoidance of the situation. And again, man, everybody's going to approach these things on their own. Nobody has a responsibility to do anything for anyone else. Okay. You do what you want to do, but don't pretend that everything's just okay now because the TV said Trump won, while we get the rug pulled right out from under us and we don't even know it. And soon we're just on our backs on the floor again with our head hurting, being like, hey, what happened to that rug I was standing on? Oh, you mean the one that you didn't realize was there until it got pulled out from under you? That rug? Let's keep going. Here's CNN recognizing that it's their fault. How could it be our fault? What do you mean we don't know what we're talking about? We're the experts that tell everybody to listen to the experts. We're the communicators on behalf of the experts. So we're basically like the experts because we say everything that they say. So, listen to us because we're the ones who talk to the experts. We heard that all throughout 2020. Let's see how they did with their election information.
Is a mandate. Has won the national popular vote for the first time for a Republican for the first time since 2004. This is a big deal. This isn't backing into the office. This is a mandate to do what you said you were going to do. Get the economy working again for regular working class Americans, fix immigration, try to get crime under control, try to reduce the chaos in the world. This is a mandate from the American people to do that. I think I'm interpreting the results tonight as the revenge of just the regular old working class American, the anonymous American who has been crushed, insulted, condescended to. They're not garbage. They're not Nazis. They're just regular people who get up and go to work every day and are trying to make a better life for their kids, and they feel like they have been told to just shut up when they have complained about the things that are hurting them in their own lives. I also feel like this election, as we sit here and pour over this tonight, is something of an indictment of the political information complex. I mean, we've been sitting around here for the last couple of weeks, and the story that was portrayed was not true. I mean, we were told Puerto Rico was going to change the election. Liz Cheney, Nikki Haley voters, women lying to their husbands. Before that, it was Tim Walz and the camo hats. Night after night after night, we were told all these things and gimmicks were going to somehow push Harris over the line, and we were just ignoring the fundamentals. Inflation, people feeling like that they were barely able to tread water at best. That was the fundamentals of the election. And so I think that both parties should always look at the results of an election and figure out what went right and what went wrong. But I think for all of us who cover elections and talk about elections and do this on a day-to-day basis, we have to figure out how to understand, talk to, and listen to the half of the country that rose up tonight and said, we've had enough.
Now, that was really well done. I don't know much about Scott Jennings. I mean, I've heard him and his commentary for years and years, and CNN requires a certain style of commentary. Maybe he's just doing a very good job within those parameters. He said a lot of good things right there. He's exactly right about how Americans sense that the people on television actually hate them. They don't care about their real life problems. They care about the pursuit of some agenda that they have convinced themselves is for the greater good, and that by representing that agenda and promoting that agenda, they themselves are good without actually doing anything. And that is very, very common in the party of false decorum. They are actually just trying to get reputation points. They are not trying to do good things. He said a lot of things that had a whole lot of signal, talking about anonymous Americans and stuff. So that was really good. No complaints on that. Awesome. I think his his perspective on the media is exactly right. I love it that he said it all to their faces. Unfortunately, that's not going to make any difference for those mainstream media figures that are just going to go back to doing that. Jon Stewart, I'm not going to play this entire thing. It's actually not that bad to watch, but I don't really care to do 4 minutes of Jon Stewart. You'll get the point pretty quickly. So, you don't have to love Jon Stewart, but he's definitely right about that. Of course, he thinks that's just people analyzing politics in very dumb ways. It's not. What you just witnessed was narrative setting, because they are trying to shift public sentiment over the course of time to explain whatever results they need to create to keep the uniparty system running. Okay. He in 2012, he was talking about the remember when the conservative establishment did their autopsy on why Mitt Romney lost, and they determined that they weren't nice enough. They weren't able to get the Hispanic vote because they said mean things about immigration. That wasn't correct at all. And of course, they knew it wasn't correct, but they're unipartisan about immigration because they both want illegal aliens here for different reasons. And they both want to spend a ton of money on it. Brian Stelter, that little cretin, he wrote this article today for CNN. Trump's return to power raises serious questions about the media's credibility. Oh, you don't say. How? How could anyone question the media's credibility after a fake campaign like that? And actually, you know what? We don't need to go through all of this. Oh, the Daily Weimar's podcaster, Matt Walsh, wrote on X overnight that the legacy media is officially dead. Their ability to set the narrative has been destroyed. Trump declared war on the media in 2016. Tonight, he vanquished them completely. They will never be relevant again. And apparently, Matt Walsh over at the Daily Weimar doesn't understand that he is part of the mainstream media. He is just 100% in the mainstream media. And I will show you how mainstream he is. This beautiful, wonderful picture was from the Daily Weimar's coverage of the election last night. And it's funny because I imagine that certain people listening to this will get mad at me for insulting the Daily Weimar, even though you just heard Bannon point out that Charlie Kirk and Tim Pool will not allow true discussion of election fraud on their own programs. You'll remember that Brian Lupo CanCon was on Tim Pool and not allowed to talk about election fraud. Oh, wait, this isn't even the right. This is not what I wanted to pull up. Not yet. Pardon me for just one more moment. Here is the picture. What we see here for the people just listening at home are 6 of the people at the Daily Weimar: Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, some guy, Ben Shapiro, Andrew Klavan, and Jordan B. Peterson, thankfully not dressed like an actual clown tonight. Klavan has a pocket chain for his pocket watch to his vest. He is wearing an all black 3-piece suit. All of these guys think that they are apparently members of the Jewish Peaky Blinders. And then we have Megyn Kelly with a very strange shirt that has a thumb hole in it so that her sleeves, she's wearing the sleeves all the way up her hands, but has a nice little thumb hole. There are 2 of her on the wall. And last night I posted this picture and captioned it: the Daily Weimar is having a wine and cheese party with a stripper on webcam, WTF. And that's what they're doing. They're basically just in their man cave, just covering the election together. And the whole presentation was quite elaborate. They had really special fonts. They wanted to give it its own kind of vibe that would make them very manly, but also very stylish, which is how the Daily Weimar presents themselves. They're like the elites of the pro-Trump voters, the very conservative pro-Trump voters, right? They're not liberals at all. And but they're acceptable to liberals because they actually deep down hate Donald Trump. And they say it all the time, but then they also say they will vote for him because they have principles, of course. And their principles are serve power wherever possible and make $1 million a week, which is exactly what they do. And people are like, they don't make $1 million a week to lie to everybody and be wrong all the time and make their audience make terrible decisions like injecting themselves with the toxic experimental gene therapy that can't protect them from a disease that can't kill them. Yes, they do. That's exactly what they do. And they've done it for all this time. To think then that they are just undercover supporting Donald Trump in a white hat operation. Gosh, man, they've sure destroyed the lives of a lot of their listeners through that process. Oh, but they're waking up the normies. Okay, let me know when that happens. When Daily Weimar listeners are awake and still listening to Daily Weimar, I will believe you. Until then, I'm going to pass on that opinion because it's so obviously false. What else? Oh, there was one tweet from Matt Walsh that I will show you, and then we will move on. And by tweet, I mean post on X, formerly Twitter. Now that the election is over, I think we can finally say that, yeah, actually, Project 2025 is the agenda, LOL. And Ian Miles Chong says, hell yeah. And the very based and red-pilled Savannah Hernandez, which is like one of those conservative hot chicks who interviews people as an info op, says diabolical with emojis. But no, that's not the agenda. That's just the agenda of the conservative establishment. And they still think they will have enough power in the next Trump administration because they put him there. Remember, they believe that they have put Trump into power, that they have helped him win a real election, but they have not done that. To the extent that they have helped him at all, they have helped build the public mandate for Donald Trump. That is in reality prime. That has literally been transferred from them to him, and now he has it, and they don't have any part of it, and they don't need to listen to him about anything. And if Scavino's post from last week is correct, they will not be listening to them about anything because Scavino said quite clearly, if the people weren't there in the aftermath of the election and throughout 2022, you can assume that means every Ron and Nikki supporter, then they're not going to be involved in the new administration. And man, I hope they stick to that, because if this is the tone of the new administration, I don't know what actual Trump supporters are supposed to do about that. You know, back Donald Trump, oppose everybody else. We could just stop paying, and I don't mean paying no attention. You have to pay attention to the enemy at all times, but don't share their clips as like, look at Ben Shapiro destroy a pink-haired Democrat, you know, or when he was in the circle of all those people, oh, he's going to take them all on at once. Except he lost those debates because Ben Shapiro, contrary to reputation, is not a good debater. Okay, let's get past that. We'll get into some questions. First, I'll hit Rumble Rants, and then we will try to wrap it up by like 2.5 hours. Okay, that's a good point. Brogent, $5. I was able to fall asleep happy last night because Larry Hogan lost. Well, I guess congratulations to Angela also Brooks. Larry Hogan would have been a great example of what I'm talking about. I think there are ample examples of what I'm talking about. We'll see as the days and weeks come. Dan Wright, $20. Happy belated, brother. Thank you very much. Some of you know last Friday was my birthday. So thank you, Dan. First round is on me. Sounds great. One day when I see you. Thank you for all you do. MAGA, what is that? Salute and the fist of power. Thank you. Thank you very much for the Rumble Rant and for your posts on Truth Social, highlighting stuff to me, for your support and your kind words. I appreciate all that. Scooter P said $1 Dems lost 15 million votes. They should demand the investigation and audit, which would give Trump the mandate to share his binders of evidence. I am in 100% agreement with you. I genuinely, sincerely hope that Donald Trump leads that charge. I suspect if that charge is to be led, it will not come until these races in the House and elsewhere are resolved. I think that that stuff's got to be baked into the cake before we go that route. And everybody should remember, in 20 days, just under 3 weeks, we are going to have the Donald Trump sentencing and everything that evolves off that 2 days before Thanksgiving. What do you think these communists are trying to do to real people? They're trying to cause strife and conflict between real people. And, you know, we can win those battles. We can kill them with kindness. We have moved past these low-level arguments with people who are Trump deranged. It's not necessary. Laugh in their faces, okay? Say, you don't really believe that, do you? Okay, if it's someone you care about, you don't want to laugh in their face, just say, you don't really believe that, do you? And ask them to substantiate their claims. I promise you they are not able to do it ever. Just ask them to substantiate what they're saying. Don't respond. Don't give them anything to work off of. Just ask them to prove what they're saying by the terms of proof and evidence they demand for your claims. And that's it. And don't make any claims. Just let them spin their tires. Add it up, $5. If we don't get integrity in our elections, none of what we've done will matter. The next stage of this fight has just begun. I'm 100% on board with you. I think that that is exactly right. And I think that that is a fine attitude to have. It doesn't mean we can't be happy. Doesn't mean we can't support Donald Trump. Doesn't mean we can't recognize the advantages of the TV saying that Trump won a fake election. Give us, okay? We accept all of that. It's like in poker. You win a hand, okay? But you haven't finished the game. You pull all those chips onto your side, and now you got to play those chips, okay? There's still an opponent over there. And even if that opponent has a very tiny stack remaining, that opponent can outplay you. It's possible. Nicole Loves Bugs is a monthly supporter. That's very sweet of you. Thank you. I will say to everybody, I am honored that you will become a public supporter on Rumble. Support on Substack is better for you and for me, okay? The money is going to be the same either way. It's not about money. It's just a more direct route. And on Substack, you get additional things, and that'll keep you, when I'm going to publish a piece of writing, for instance, you're not going to get that on Rumble unless and until I actually read that and post it as an episode or do it on the podcast. So just saying, it is my belief that for your own benefit, it is better to support over at Substack. For now, who knows what's going to happen with Substack? Rumble, I think, is going to be stable. We had a great conversation yesterday with Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO of Rumble, and I think that this is going to be a very solid platform. Substack has been wonderful throughout this entire period. SRGS, is that? I think it's Sergeant Sparky, I think is what that is abbreviating to. Also a monthly supporter. Again, thank you very much. Same message, obviously. Aussie Sharon, 74, $47. Thank you very much. I suppose that 47 is in honor of Donald Trump. Another great podcast. Thanks, Chris. Thank you. Lance, 2002, $5. I appreciate your analysis, Professor Paul. Thank you. I do kind of feel a little bit more like a professor these days just because of how my days are. I basically just consume information all day, think about that information in my quiet moments, and then regurgitate it at a high and eventually unsustainable rate. I suppose I shouldn't say regurgitate it. I repackage and deliver it with my own special twist. Now, let us get to the Substack replies for the Q&A portion of today's episode. And thank you, the 726 people watching on Rumble. That's pretty awesome. Usually because this stream is private, it is not today because I wanted to, I knew I would be talking about this particular subject that is of interest to everybody, and it's not primarily a Q&A kind of subscriber thing. So this is out there for that, and I imagine a lot of people saw it while Kamabla was doing whatever it is Kamabla does, sadly. Okay, so to the Substack. The replies, as always, are in the link here. Oh, and let me just mention this again. For anybody out there listening or seeing this on Rumble, and you have followed me on Rumble in the past, I am now posting to a channel, okay, rather than the personal account I was posting to before. I didn't understand this distinction. It's going to be on the channel going forward. So you search I'm your moderator or Be Reasonable with your moderator, Chris Paul, and you will find that channel. That channel is the better place to subscribe to rather than the personal. That is my understanding of how this works. I hope that I am correct in that. To the comments. Okay. Mooney's mom, Frenchie, Chris, I hope you got some rest. Long day for you yesterday. Thank you for your hard work. I did not, as a matter of fact, get some rest. I've basically conditioned myself to waking up somewhere around 5:30 or 6 now. And I suppose that includes whenever I go to bed. If it's a night like last night, I mean, I wanted to know what was going on. As soon as I woke up and had a conscious thought, I was like, oh, damn, I wonder if they pulled some shit in the middle of the night. I better immediately check on that. And of course, as soon as I do that, and I'm awake, and I'm engaged on social media, and the whole thing falls apart. So such is life right now. I will rest at another time. And I guess while we're on the subject, I will probably be resting more between now and the end of the year. There will be some weeks where there are 5 episodes up. There will be some weeks where there are 2 or 3 episodes up. I don't think there's ever going to be a week where there's only 1 up, but I'm going to hit the road. I'm going to travel a little bit. I'm going to see some people that have probably been neglected in the last 4 years of my life while I do this 15 hours a day by myself in the middle of nowhere. And there are just going to be some travel days that I'm not able to get a show out. I will probably do more private episodes and live streams. And I want to get back into writing more often. So I hope that I make the Substack subscription still valuable to you guys. It is totally up to you whether you want to continue to do that or not. I'm just letting you know what the changes in the future will be. In fact, those changes might start Friday. I think I am probably taking off on Friday and will not be able to put a Friday episode out. So just so you know, if I am not as present as I normally am, that will be why. That said, if shit gets crazy, I am totally committed to being here. Okay. So if things start going haywire, I'm not just going to disappear on you. All right. Maria says, the most satisfying victory of all time. Thank you, Chris and Badlands Media, for covering the 2024 election. We did it. We won. Finally, praise the Lord. And hey, Maria, I hope that I have not disappointed you too much with my response today. It is not. I don't believe that this is yet the greatest victory of all time. Although we are working steadily forward toward the greatest victory of all time, we need to eject these communists completely. And that requires society understanding that these communists really are here. And like the monsters of all 80s and 90s horror movies, they're going to be back a few times before the movie ends. And by the way, also when this movie ends, the next one begins, because this is only the second one of the trilogy. So there's plenty more to go. Nicole Loves Bugs, after subscribing, said one more thing. I'm your moderator is my favorite. Well, thank you very much. Terry A, $10. When the fraud is finally exposed, who do you think is the best messenger to share that truth for optimal impact? Do you feel that could be a military role? Well, this is why I was hoping to see the ideal result I described, which was a massive and impossible Kamabla victory, so that everyone's faith in elections was eradicated immediately. Okay. That didn't happen. In fact, we got exactly what I described as the regime's ideal outcome after the point and with the acknowledgement that it was narratively too big to rig, which happened a long time ago. Okay. So not my preferred outcome. That would have been my preferred way for the public to understand that our elections are bullshit. Their skin goes in the game and immediately They are forced to understand the reality that they had denied for these 4 years while the country was being usurped. So how should that be delivered? I don't know. Maybe Fani Willis will deliver that evidence for us in the Fulton County trial. Okay, the DOJ is thinking about dropping the Jack Smith bullshit special counsel indictments. How they're going to work with that, because they can't indict a sitting president. They can't prosecute a sitting president. And the country has told them they don't want the president prosecuted. So all of those rules are gone. It doesn't matter what the law is. Okay. The country supersedes the law. The people supersede the law in every way, in every instance, always. Okay. Always. The people have expressed the public mandate. That's it. Okay. There are no more Trump indictments after that. But at least at a federal level, we're still going to see this bullshit from Fani Willis. These aren't real indictments either. All within the false reality layer of the fake government all around the country. None of it matters, right? When people talk about the national debt, the $35 trillion, the enemy is the global regime and the global regime's banks and bankers, okay? Our national debt is in a fiat currency that is collapsing. You don't defeat an enemy and then repay your debt to that enemy, okay? It's war. It's just gone, all right? Just gone. You move to the different layer. You ignore the other layer. The other layer, upon being realized to be abstract, simply collapses because it requires people's belief in its abstract power to persist. Jason Lowery is explicit about this in Soft War. This is also exactly the same in the Party of False Decorum, which is what makes me love Soft War so much. Okay. I recognized immediately that it was the same theory applied to warfare and Bitcoin rather than to the social sphere. Let's go back to the Substack. Sean, AZ is a crime scene right this minute. That's Arizona. Adrian Fontes claims counting will take 10 to 13 more days. WTF. Hickman's chicken farm could catch fire at any moment. Nice. Good callback. Anyone not familiar with that? Look up Clint Hickman, Arizona, Maricopa Board of Supervisors, chicken farm fire. Okay. His chicken farm was set ablaze in the lead up to the Maricopa County audit. Katie Hobbs, an illegitimate executive with the most to lose, has proven to be clever. Well, maybe, or just fully controlled, playing her role. We are not going to have it anymore. Down ballot forensic audit on deck. Wonderful. Let's get it. Let's get the whole thing. Let's get it all out there. 10 to 13 days is a whole lot of time for the country to keep an eye on Arizona. We might be at GART next weekend without some of these states called. I think we should all be razor sharp on all of these races that are still out there. Press the issue. This is not a legitimate election. Prove the fraud. It's all out there. It's not just an information op. You know, the communists would listen to this and be like, this is just propaganda. He's just saying we're supposed to call the election fraudulent and then just get people to believe it. Well, what have you done, commies? You have called an obviously fraudulent, rigged, manipulated, stolen election a fake election, legitimate for the entire time with no proof whatsoever. And the entire point was that you propagandized that point and got everyone to repeat it and to believe it, because all that mattered at that point was the propaganda. You called it the big lie. You called us election deniers. You said we were domestic terrorists staging a violent insurrection so that no one would ever look at the elections. That's an info op. That's a psyop. Asking for the elections to be examined and calling them illegitimate until their legitimacy is proven is just basic civic duty. It is more of a civic duty than voting in the elections, which is not at all a civic duty. Demanding real elections, if you are to be governed by them, is a civic duty. That is a duty we do to each other. Because even if our commie friends are too stupid to know that they're being hoodwinked, It is our responsibility to take care of society and stand up for the fact that everybody's getting hoodwinked. And oh man, really is crazy. It really is crazy where what we've been conditioned to believe and to accept at this point. Literally just embrace our own downfall because we don't want to find ourselves in confrontation with communists because we know they're going to punish us reputationally or some other way. Chris, now that Trump won the election, what will the threshold of election fraud exposure and remedies presented make you move on to other projects? Oh, this is Carla. I don't think those are connected in my mind necessarily. I guess you'd have to say that they are on to some measure, some degree. I mean, if we totally got the hose last night the way I hoped we would, it's not like I would have stopped. I would have doubled down much harder because at some point that Con Inc. backlash is going to be coming. And I think a lot of people are just going to forget about it and just go back to watching the television and all the characters that they've been comfortable with for all these many years as they say nice things about Donald Trump and pretend to be super based and red-pilled as they go after the Democrats, continuing to ignore and obscure the fact that we deal with a uniparty and that the infiltration in this country is far bigger than they let on. In fact, they are part of that infiltration. So I care a great deal about that aspect. And I don't know. The only way I'm moving on to other projects is if I get asked by someone at a high level in this movement to work on another project. And I would be open to doing that. But beyond that, I'm going to be doing my show in some way, writing and doing streams. Now, that could take an entirely different shape. There's a part of me that wants to host various Hollywood friends and give them an opportunity to come out publicly and to talk about what it was like to not come out and, I don't know, maybe try to make amends with the American public who have been let down by these people. I think that that's a worthwhile project for me at some point. Maybe it's something to mix in with this. I don't know. I'm totally open to things taking place or taking shape in a lot of different ways. I don't know how that's going to look. I'm not trying to direct it into any particular place. You know, I'm obviously still not trying to monetize things in any way. For the entirety of my show, I have left it to whoever wants to support the show to support the show. And that's it. I would like to continue that way. And I think I can continue that way forever. I just want there to not be censorship anymore. And if they keep the censorship in place, then I got to fight against that too. You know, when the censorship is not in place, if we are all competing on an even playing field, I am more than happy to compete on that playing field. Okay. I'm not scared of that at all. Like I could make a wonderful living just on people's support if I was not censored. Okay. Right now I am able to make a living between people's support and between what I make at Badlands. But I've said this before. I don't want to talk about myself, generally speaking, but I essentially lost everything in 2020 and 2021 through my own choosing, right? I chose a set of priorities and money was not my priority. I realized that I had lived my life in a wrong way for a long time. And I wanted to figure out how to make some amends with that. So anyway, moving on. The last point, just to cap that. I want to only have it so that people can support me by choice because they believe they're getting more value from my show than what they are giving me. I am totally happy with that exchange, which is why I want to provide the maximum possible value for, what you pay for a cup of coffee a month. Joe says, what a great day. Trump won. I think you have one of the brightest minds on Badlands. Thank you very much. We don't have to distinguish and differentiate between us. I truly believe we, the people, are the news now. And I think that was a large part of why and how Trump won. And I agree with you. Not only that, Elon Musk agrees with you. And I want to see if I can find his post from earlier today. Oh, wow. There's another tweet that maybe is worth sharing here. But I do want to find, man, he said, okay, let's take a second and let's just pause. I'm going to come back to you, Joe. Let's just pause and take a second with Elon. First, remembering that he said this just a couple of weeks ago in a Q&A at an event that he did in support of Donald Trump.
See, why haven't they announced who the pipe bomber is?
Well, maybe he's a federal employee. Maybe. Maybe.
Clear on Twitter. Some detectives on Twitter, I think, were pretty clear that it was obvious who it was. Well, can't they just tell the truth?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think if President Trump is elected, we're going to get to the bottom of a lot of these things, you know. So I think it's going to be like massive data dump, and then have at it. Take a look at all the information, you know. So, yeah. So, I mean, maybe there's an innocent explanation. Maybe there isn't. Let's find out.
Okay, so that's a priority project right there, right? We got to make sure that Elon keeps his word on that. We got to have it. There's no way you can allow that to go. He says the information is going to be released about a whole wide range of things if Trump wins. We got the Trump win. Let's get that information. Let's get it rolling. You know, people got to know what's been done to them and what's been done in their names. Here is another comment by Elon, although not what I was referring to. AOC says, this is yesterday in the evening, I guess. We ran 80,000 election simulations and women are pissed off and well organized in every one of them. Elon says the reality is that an enormous number of sensible, smart women voted for Donald Trump. He would not have won without them. Now, there are exit polls that I've seen that suggest Donald Trump won with white women overall. And if that is the case, I mean, first of all, exit polls are fake. So take that with a grain of salt. But narratively speaking, that is kind of a big deal to the extent that that's true. It's actually a bigger deal narratively speaking, because the idea that women hate Donald Trump is immediately cut off through that narrative. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this, but Elon said today, here it is. Perfect. Found it just in the nick of time. Okay. Where is it? Where is it? I always think of Batman when I ask where something is. Elon Musk, you are the media now at 11:17 last night. How about that? 11:17. Kamala Harris with her 107 days of her vacation. I mean, campaign. I guess those aren't the same. Oh, I also want to show this screenshot, and then I'll go back to Joe's question on the Substack. While I've been recording, I got a text from Democrats saying, we made a hard call. 32 House races are tied. We have no money left to help Democrat recounts, but we greenlit the plan and hoped you'd help. How about that? Look at those little election deniers just getting out there and keeping hope alive, still fighting for these elections. I guess we should just pretend that they're real and that they're all just in the bag, right? We're going to get that House majority. That House majority that we don't know if it's a uniparty majority or just a Republican majority. It does not mean anything to have a majority of people in Congress who write their names and then write a little R next to their names. Imagine that. Imagine that. Oh, you know who our country's going to be saved by? People who have R's next to their names instead of D's. Look at that. Our country's saved. R's. Oh, we're all about the R's. Do you know the R's are red instead of blue? Red is a better color than blue. Do you know that they're represented with a donkey rather than, or an elephant rather than a donkey? Elephants are so much cooler, so much stronger, so much wiser, and they live for a really long time. Yay, elephant won. The deep state rat bastard Joe says MSM can no longer control the narrative, and that was their most powerful weapon. No more. I agree with you 100%, except for people in the party of false decorum, people engaged in pop culture, scientific materialism. They will still guide these people's beliefs, which means they guide their actions, and they can, regardless of whether or not they can capture their belief and make them do whatever they want, they can find ways to convince them to oppose us and to oppose Donald Trump, because all of them have been doing it for the entire time. I also believe we can speak truth in existence, speak truth into existence, I think is what he's saying, and do so by speaking the truth out loud. We can influence reality or actually create reality. And yes, of course, that's exactly right. We do that. And it's not like the secret kind of thing. It's not about the law of attraction. It's that our beliefs guide our actions. And when you mix that with other people and then into groups and then add in social influences and survival needs and the rest of it, then those beliefs very much affect the behavior of the groups. And the groups can then engage in group action that build things up or tear them down. And all of that is part of reality prime. So it's why we still need to focus on narratives and beliefs and how they're being formed. We can't just give away the information war because we believe that it's over now. Trump's got everything under control. That information war is always going to be waged between good and evil in our own lives, and we have to be conscious of it at all times. And the more we can be honest and open to the people around us, the more we are able to bring them in and along with us to the extent that they're not ahead of us, you know. And if people are going crazy because Donald Trump won and people are really upset, or if people are really celebrating and they think that the whole game is won, those people need to be brought along. And, you know, we're not perfect. We need to be brought along in different ways, just not that way. Okay. And who knows, maybe we'll wake up in more ways that way as well. Maria Faga. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I am happy today, but now that we had our red tsunami, I wonder how many of the Republicans in the new House and the new Senate are aligned with America First, and how many of them will do the bipartisan work to fight for the survival of the regime. And I would say unipartisan, but you're dead on. My main concern is the warmongers and the traitors to our country. I share that concern. I think there's at least some chance that we will see Kamala be faced with some narrative event where Joe Biden's just not up to the task, and it is decided that Kamala has to use the 25th Amendment and get Joe Biden out of there. There are still parts of things that need to collapse. And one of those things is, to some degree, the financial system. And so people still better prepare for those things. I support people divesting or not divesting, diversifying their investments into precious metals and especially into Bitcoin. Okay. There's a lot of power going behind Bitcoin right now. A lot of power that was just elevated in an abstract power hierarchy yesterday. We've got to be cautious of that. The fact that that malign abstract power is moving behind Bitcoin doesn't make Bitcoin bad. The same way that that abstract power moving behind a Trump win doesn't make that a real election. Okay. You still have to judge the thing for itself and on its own, not biasing the viewpoint in regard to a falsity. right? A movement within an abstract power hierarchy within the party of false decorum or within the false reality. And so that is it for the Substack. Checking quickly on the Rumble rants, and then I'm going to get out of here. 2 hours and 40 minutes is plenty long. Gosh, I'm tired. And my voice seems to be beginning to grow tired as well. I think I've answered all the Rumble rants and all the questions. Adam Splat says Bitcoin is doing real good since last night. Yes, it is. So is DJT. In fact, let me check DJT, the stock right now. It took a major nosedive after a major price hike yesterday. So it's very volatile, and it's always been very volatile. It is up 3x right now from where it was a month ago. And it was actually up 4 or 5. It was actually up about 4x from where it was a month ago. And now it's only, 2 or 3. So very, very volatile, but very, very good and very good long-term. I mean, man, it's $34 a share right now. I believe that has unlimited potential. I believe that there are interplays there, not only with Truth Social, but with Rumble and the Rumble Cloud, with TikTok. I think that, I've said many times, I think TikTok is a drainage case. I think it's a seizure, and then they'll move it off publicly and privatize it. Same thing Putin did in Russia 20 years ago. Same thing I believe they just did with Twitter and Elon Musk. So, man, I'm very bullish on that. Not financial advice. I'm not a stock market guy. I just like when patterns fit. And I know things in my own way. Okay. Everybody has different ways of knowing, different standards of proof and evidence. I go on my path. I tell you what my path is. You are under no obligation to follow that path or to think that I am speaking from a position of expertise. I will tell you about stocks and about cryptocurrencies. I'm not an expert. I know what I know. I'm learning more all the time. This is what I see to be right now. Make your own decisions. That's how it's always going to go. A lot of game left to be played, guys. It looks different in the good twin, evil twin paradigm than it does in this traditional political analysis. We have to watch and monitor both those paradigms at the same time. We're going to understand everything in both of those worlds. This has been the approach since January of 2021. I think it has served us very, very well. Okay. The position we find ourselves in right now is exactly the position I have described for a year. Okay. The narrative is exactly what we would be expected to be delivered in that scenario. I'm not blackpilling anything. I'm not negative. I'm not pessimistic. The American Renaissance is just ahead, but we actually do have to continue to pay attention and continue to do the right things in order to get there. And with that, I will be back tomorrow at the same reasonable time on the same reasonable podcast network. I don't have a network. Masks and lockdowns don't work. They lied to you about a pandemic, and Joe Biden will never be president.
Well,
what?
You know who I am, don't you?
Well, you ain't Fiona Apple, and if you ain't Fiona Apple, I don't give a rat's ass.
Ah!
Let you down.
We do a little trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling.
What? In my mind, that's the end game.
If you're listening for free and would like to support the show, the best way to do that is by signing up for a paid subscription at imyourmoderator.substack.com. You can find the info stream over on Telegram at t.me/veryreasonable. The merch site is cancelcouture.com, and for all my other links, you can visit linktree.com/imyourmoderator. And I'll see you soon. Down on the range.